Hello, everyone. It's me, Luis, and welcome again to Woodside SDA Youth, where we are doing the yearly Bible reading plan. So today we are reading, or we read, Exodus 14 to chapter 16. And like we do on these very short videos, I'm going to go over what we read and also touch on three questions, 3 points. The first one, what new things did I learn about the reading? Second, what questions do I have about the reading? And three, what can I apply to my everyday life? So, what did we read today? In chapter 14 of Exodus, we read about the one of the greatest miracles that I read in the Bible. It's the people of Israel and Moses crossing the Red Sea, and it's such a spectacular scene. It was always one of my favorite stories when I was a kid. In chapter 15, once they have been delivered from the hands of Pharaoh completely, and the armies of Pharaoh have been swept away by the waters. In chapter 15, there is a song that everyone sings, a song of Moses, and then Miriam, the sister of Moses, also sings a song of praise to God for being delivered from the Egyptians. Then in chapter 15, also, we see that the people of Israel complain about no food and no water. And it carries on to chapter 16, where God provides food and the water for them. So, first question, what new things did I learn? So, I kind of covered this already a few sentences ago. One of the things that I learned is that the very next thing that happens after the people of Israel sing a song of praise to God for delivering them is complaints. You know, I used to think there was at least some chapters before they start complaining, but I realized that throughout the previous chapters that I read, the people of Israel have a big problem with complaining. Like they complained a lot, and even after they just experienced one of the biggest miracles ever, right there, not even half a chapter goes by that they already start complaining to God and questioning, is he gonna provide for them? You know, that's crazy. Like right after the song of Miriam, the next thing is that for the next 3 days they are walking in the desert. It's very hot, they're very thirsty, so they complain to God, to Moses, saying, is God not gonna give us any water? Instead of saying, Moses, can you please ask God for some water because we're very thirsty? We know he will provide because we saw what he did with water in the Red Sea, and we're sure that he can do something now. Now, they didn't say that. They just immediately went to complain. And it's just crazy how fast humans, fall into their bad habits. I see a pattern here of complaining. So even though they see or they experience the biggest miracles ever, they're gonna fall back to their same habits if they don't fix those habits. So that's one of the things I learned. I see like the problems of the Israelites of not trusting God fully is still there. So what questions do I have about the reading? I just read this and it kind of reminded me, I feel like I already knew this, but it mentions that Miriam, the sister of Moses, was a prophet, a prophetess to be exact. And my question is, when was she appointed a prophet, or was there any hint that was chosen as prophetess? Do we see anything else in the following chapters that we will read throughout this year? Do we see any hints that she is doing a prophetic role? Is she gonna deliver a prophecy soon? You know, that's one of the questions that I have about the reading that can further help me pick up some new things in the chapters that are to follow. But I think that was something very interesting, how even back early in the Bible, like we're just on the second book of the Bible, and God is already using women putting them in a very important roles. I don't know if you noticed this, but in like the first few chapters of Exodus, God used women to save Moses, to lead Moses, and used so many women figures to for His will to be fulfilled. And now we see Miriam being a prophetess. So I'm kind of very excited to see what more I can learn about the roles of women in the Old Testament. It's actually pretty exciting. Now, third point, what can I apply to my everyday life? And kind of going back to this chapter 14, when the Israelites are going to face their toughest challenge in front of the Red Sea, there's absolutely no other way of escape. They start to panic. And I think they start to panic because they don't really have a really good connection with God. You see, throughout this entire chapter, Moses, yes, he's a little anxious. Moses is a little unstable because of all the things that are happening, but he has a close communication with God. So he's calm because he knows that God is going to help Moses. He's going to help the people overcome this obstacle of the Red Sea. So um, if the people of Israel were actually that close to God, when the Egyptians appeared, they would have said, "We know that God is going to help us." But they didn't. Only Moses knew because he had a connection with God. He had a connection with God that God himself, even told Moses that days before or a long time before that the Egyptians were going to appear. And so Moses was ready when the test came, when the obstacles came. If the people were connected with God, God would have given them enough faith, enough strength, so that when the obstacle comes, they wouldn't stumble, they wouldn't fall apart, they wouldn't lose faith. I think everyone who's listening to us, that we should, start communicating with God. I feel like when every obstacle comes in our lives, our first reaction is to fall apart. Our first reaction is to cry instead of saying, "I wasn't expecting this, but I am connected with God. And God said he was going to deliver me from my problems. God said he was going to deliver me from my obstacles. So I'm ready to tackle this with God's help." I think, just like Moses, even though he was preaching to so many people, a lot of people were looking at many signs. He chose to have a connection with God. The people were looking at many miracles and they could see so many signs, but if they didn't have a close connection with God, any small chess move from the devil can make them stumble. So, dear everyone who's looking at us, if you're struggling with something, don't give up. Don't stumble like the Israelites. Remember those moments where God delivered you from the hands of the devil. Remember those times where God delivered you from a situation that you think it was impossible for him to help you. Remember those times. Stay connected with God so that when the devil does his next chess move, you will be ready for that move and you will be able to overcome with the help of God. God bless you all.